It's time for Tab Talks, your weekly conversation about matters of faith. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash.
And I'm your co-host, Debbie Campbell.
We are talking with Dr. Lonnie Burnett from University of Mobile this week. So welcome, Dr. Burnett.
Thank you. Good to be here, guys. Good to be with you.
Glad to have you.
Okay, so 2021 is a special year for University of Mobile, going into the 60th anniversary of its founding. So, okay, that's one thing. Wow, you got lots of cool things happening, and it's also, we're just past your first year as president. So why don't we start with what was it like to be president your first year during COVID? How about that? What a fun way to go.
It's actually been 18 months counting the interim part, but I tell folks it seems like it's like dog years where each month is maybe 4 or 5 months, but it's been a good year. It's been a challenge, but literally from last March until today, I mean, COVID has been on our minds every single waking hour pretty much, but we had a great semester. I mean, we kind of bucked all the national trends with a good enrollment class. We kept the cases on campus under control. So God has blessed us, I think, this year at the University of Mobile, but it has taken a lot of hard work from the team, a lot of preparation, a lot of cooperation from the faculty, the staff, but it has been a challenge, I think, to all universities, especially, a private Christian university like ours. But I do think we've handled it very well on campus.
Good. Well, tell us about graduation. How did you work all of that out?
That was a great event because, again, last March, we had to cancel graduation. And, of course, as you know, a kid's here for 4 years. That is just a major event in their life. So it was a very, very tough decision to do that. And when it happened, I promised the students, hang with us. We will do this in December on the lawn. I made that promise. Having made it, I said, what have I done when I thought about it later? But, in Mobile, December outdoors, what can go wrong? But we had it last week. It was the most beautiful day of the year. It was gorgeous. We had probably 2,000 people socially distanced on our massive lawn. So many folks have called and sent word to us, parents, grandparents. It was almost like closure. I mean, for a senior class, we combined a fall graduation with spring, but I've never seen so many happy students, parents. It was a good ending to what had been a challenging year. And it was an amazing day.
You were able to give them kind of a normal ending, right?
Yeah, that's a good word, Debbie, because the word normal came up a few times. We wanted these students to go out with a normal experience. And the beauty was, these kids had graduated last spring, 6 months ago. A lot of them came back. I mean, I had invited the entire class. Over half came back. So that was a good sign to us. These are kids that had already moved off, gotten jobs, but it was that important to come back and walk across that stage. And it was a very special day for us.
That's neat. So tell us what's happening for the spring. Do we know yet?
We always say here, all the university presidents say the same thing. As of today, here's our plan. So our plan for the spring is we're going to try again to be, as Debbie said, more normal, but you've still got to worry about things like, room occupancies. You'll still do, depending what COVID does between now and then. Right now, the default is more on-ground, in-class students. We did that in the fall, kind of half and half. We would like to go more on-ground, but again, we just don't know. We've got every situation planned for, but our dorms were open, our athletic events. What will be tricky in the spring, by the way, our athletic conference, NAIA, pushed all fall sports to the spring. So now you've got every sport in the spring. You've got your fall sports and spring sports at the same time in the same gym, the same field. So it'll be massive activities. It'll take massive planning. But again, it's just the typical line is, as of today, here's our plan. That's what we're going off of.
Mm-hmm. That'll be great.
Yeah, that'll be great. I like the way you said that. That'll be great, sure.
It'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah, a better word, interesting. That's a good word.
Hey, you've had nothing but excitement since you became president.
Yes, true.
That's right. Because you were interim for a few months before you became president. That's your 18 months, right?
Yeah, 6 months interim, and then it's been a year since that, since the full term. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And besides COVID, don't forget, we dodged hurricanes all summer. So my favorite picture of 2020, I've got a photo of our cafeteria folks during one of the hurricanes. I lose track, but during one of the hurricanes, we lost power for 4 days. There's a great photo of our MMI dining service. They're wearing lanterns on their head because of no power, at the same time wearing masks because of COVID. So that's a great shot. I mean, COVID and hurricanes lined up together. That's kind of the way 2020 has been, yet we've still thrived and prospered during that time. So that just shows hard work and God's faithfulness.
What have you seen come out of the culture there at University of Mobile? You're a smaller campus, so your students, your faculty, your staff, what did you see happen? Were there bonding moments? You said thrive. What other?
Well, you know, this Jennifer is kind of strange. A smaller school like the University of Mobile, we have 1,500 students. We can be in a situation like this. I don't want to say it was an advantage. You know, COVID's never good, obviously, but we saw students come to us because they understood and the parents understood a place like the university, that child will not get lost. We can do care, one-on-one care that a major institution can't do. I use the comparison, a speedboat to an aircraft carrier. We can be nimble. If we face a situation like a speedboat, we can turn. An aircraft carrier takes a long time to turn. It's very hard to manage. It's a great, great big ship, but it's hard to manage. I saw students, I saw parents appreciate more and more what we do, because that's our niche. Our niche is hands-on care for students. We do that in normal times, but in trying times, that becomes, to me, much more important. So I did see that. I saw the faculty rise to the occasion. You know, we literally at spring break shut down for an extra week, and I told the faculty, when we come back in 2 weeks, we've got to be completely online. That is a major shift. Some faculty converted 5 courses to online courses in the course of that 2 weeks. That was a dramatic overnight shift. But we came back in 2 weeks, boom, there we go. And we never looked back. So they've done that, the staff, the housing folks, the dining hall. There's so many facets here that had to be adjusted, but there were not complaints, not many. There were no, not much grumbling. It's just, let's bear down and do it and make it work. And we did. I was very proud of that.
Will you be offering online, continuing to do that, you think?
Yes, we've always had online courses. What we did in the spring and fall, we gave students a choice. If I teach a class, I teach a history class. My class has 30 students. So with COVID regulations, I can only get about 15 or 20 in the classroom. So on any given day, I'm doing a live class to 15 students. The other 15 are watching, online. So we'll do part of that still. We've got full online classes. We've got what they call the high flex model, where half are in the class, half are online. That worked out well when quarantines happen. You can just kind of shift from one to another. I would still love to see more and more on ground, but online's got to be an option. That's here to stay. That's got to be an option, and it's a good option. We need that, no doubt. We had that for a long time anyway.
All right. I also understand coming up, you are changing the name of the School of Christian Studies. That's happening pretty soon. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. That's an initiative we've talked about for a while. It's going to be called the Center for Christian Calling. Now, what does that mean? We've done a lot of good things for 60 years with our ministry students. But what we're going to do is not really changing our focus. It's just buckling down, becoming more intense. What I've seen, I speak in churches almost every Sunday. I'm amazed at the number of churches I see with interim pastors for a long time. We've turned out pastors for 50 years, 60 years, but we do a great job, as most of our Baptist schools do, with theology, with the academic side. We do a lot of hands-on stuff. I want us to do more. My vision is, a kid that leaves here, he will know his Greek, his Hebrew, his scriptures, which you've got to your theology. But can that student handle angry deacons? I hear those happen. Can they do grief counseling? Can they manage a budget? So these are practical things that my vision was every student that leaves here would have that experience. So we're partnering with local Baptist churches and across the state, really, providing interns for the pastors, for worship leaders. We're renowned for our music department, our worship leadership. So the goal of this center is you would have the theology branch, you'd have the intercultural study branch, and then this pastoral ministry branch. which is just more and more of a hands-on, get them in the pulpit, internships, practical training. So when they leave here, they can handle most situations. It's just kind of it's not changing the overall what we do. It's just more intense, more practical, and seeking to meet a need. I feel there's a need in the Baptist denomination for more and more young pastors. And that's our job. That's our niche. We'll do that.
And I'm assuming then you'll work with the churches to build some kind of network.
Absolutely. We do that. We've had several, local churches in Mobile, Redemption, Cottage Hill, Dolphin Way, they get our interns now. We want to spread that network. Any church that hears this, call us. We would love to send you students for internships, musicians for internships. That's the goal, to get more and more networks involved. We've done this for years. The goal is expanded. I see a need. It seems like denominationally that the numbers across the country, it seems like the number of kids going into the ministry, from what I see, those numbers aren't growing. I want to see those numbers grow, and not just for numbers' sake, but for quality's sake. We need folks to spread the word in the church. And if we don't do it, who will? If the Christian church and Christian school doesn't do it, who will do it? So that's our goal.
And to prepare them, I like what you said.
Yeah.
You're going to give them all those practical helps too.
Absolutely.
They need it.
A kid can be the greatest Greek scholar in the world, but he goes to his first angry deacon meeting and he gets so discouraged sometimes he might quit. So it's just, we need to prepare folks how to handle people, how to handle real life situations, a budget, for goodness sakes, things like that. That's skills all pastors must have, certainly.
That's good.
Yep.
You're listening to Tab Talks. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash, with co-host Debbie Campbell, and we are talking with Dr. Lonnie Burnett from University of Mobile. And we are hearing about some of the new things coming, as well as how they survived this 2020 year, this past 2020 year. Let's jump back to the fact that we are celebrating your 60th anniversary in 2021. And so I'm assuming there'll be some celebrations and that kind of thing. But tell us a little bit, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Give us the history lesson. Do the milestones for us from when the founding happened until where we are today.
And I'm a history teacher, right, Jennifer? I'm a history teacher. History books back here.
Oh, I thought I was going to get him. I forgot about that.
We were founded in 1961. We were the first state Baptist school in a long, long time. Judson's very old. Sanford's very old. There was a need in this part of the state for a Baptist institution. So in 1961, Dr. Weaver appointed the first president. The first classes started in 1963. They would add a class each year. The first graduating class was 1967. We had, by the way, an alumni event last week. We had a graduate from the 1967 class and one from the class 2 weeks ago. So that was kind of neat. But since 1967, we've been the Baptist school in this part of the state. It's been a great partnership. When I took over this job, even as the interim, the first thing I did was reach out to the local Baptist churches, because that is first of all, I love churches. I love church stuff, if you know what I mean. I love everything from the music to the Sunday school. I'm old school. I love small churches, big churches. I reached out to pastors. I love to speak in church. I'm not a pastor. I'm a historian. I love to preach in churches. This last year, even with COVID, I spoke 27 Sundays, including the last 17 in a row at Baptist churches, from Cottage Hill to Carbon Hill, from big to small. I love doing that. I love meeting the people. Every church I go to, I'll see a grandparent. I went to the Mobile. My granddaughter is there now. It's just amazing, the network. But we reached out to pastors because that's our lifeblood. If a person, just the money is kind of crude sometimes, but if a donor gave us $2.5 million, we put his name on a building, right? The Baptists each year give us that much. Through Rick Lance, God love him, in the co-op program, that's a major source of revenue for us. But not just that. They send us students. That's our best marketing tool. The Baptist churches send us students. All our kids are not Baptists, but a lot of them are from these churches. When I go to Fayette, Alabama, which I did 3 times this fall, we own Fayette, Alabama. When I go to Fayette, Alabama, in a little small country church, I'll find 3 kids that came to Mobile. every year we'll get one or two here, one or two there. It's a joy to go talk to these folks, but that's been our connection. We're proud of that. We enjoy doing that, but it's been a good partnership for so long. I enjoy going to speak and to meet these folks across the state. I'll do it again starting in January. I got a break right now, but I'll be on the road again in January. But it's not just the co-op program, which in itself is great. It's the influence. The kids we get, then the folks we send back to the churches. Any church I go to, big or small, I can find one person on staff that went here. Either back to Carbon Hill. The church is a very small, beautiful church, but the pastor and his wife are our graduates. So that's all over the state. We love those connections. And it's fun. It's just a fun thing for me to do.
That ties back into the new Christian calling.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
Well, tell us what you share when you speak in the churches.
Okay, I never, by the way, do a advertise for the University of Mobile. We'll have a booth out in the lobby. I don't do a commercial. I preach the gospel. I don't do a commercial. This past year I had a theme. It was what I call kind of the stand-up, no t-shirts, but the stand-up tour I called it. I used Ezekiel.
Comedy, or doing comedy?
Yeah, there's no t-shirts for the tour or anything. But I talked about remember the old dry bone story? I talked about, and my topic was, how do you stand when the world is falling? And I talked about the dry bones. I mean, that was just kind of a theme I did, but I don't do a commercial for the university. I will mention this, of course, and have a booth out in the lobby, but I speak on themes like that. I do a purpose theme. I use 2 Corinthians, what is the purpose of a university like ours? But it's a gospel message. I just enjoy doing that. And again, I'm not a pastor. I'm a historian, but I love speaking to churches.
And does that tie back into the 20 odd years you've been teaching a Sunday school class, Bible study class, correct?
I have, yeah. Just I did Bible study class many years at the Redemption Church. I still do that sometimes. Yeah, I do. I enjoy teaching the Bible, obviously. I mean, my gig as a teacher, I've been a teacher now 42 years, and I still teach. When I took this job, I said, I want to teach one class at least every semester, which I do. Just because that's my stress relief time. I teach a U.S. history class to freshman students on Monday and Wednesday. I still teach that class. It's just stress relief and it's fun. So that's my niche is teaching. I love teaching. I love talking and teaching pretty much.
Well, how do these, I wondered about that. How do these freshmen handle this, taking a class from the president of the university?
That's intimidating, right?
That's what I was thinking. So
really.
How does that work there?
It gets awkward sometimes. A funny story, I was doing a class this fall, okay? I just taught my heart out. It was about the Revolutionary War. Taught my heart out. And in the class, I said, okay, any questions? I'm wanting a great history question, something very deep in history. Little girl raises her hand. Yes, ma'am. Can you fix the elevator in so-and-so hall, she said. That was the question. So I kind of lost history theme that day, but it's fun. They're not intimidated. They're God bless them, they're students, but they'll ask me things like, can you fix the elevator? Can you fix this light that's out? Instead of history questions, but it's just fun. I think they appreciate the fact that I do that, but I do it for me. It's literally stress relief. I enjoy doing it. I would go nuts in here all day without doing that once a week. Plus, I'm in touch with the students. I know what their issues are. If our computer system's down, I know it because I'm teaching a class, right? So it keeps me kind of in the loop of what's going on faculty-wise. I was a full-time professor for many years, so I just enjoy doing that also.
And tell us a little bit about your full teaching background, because you taught in the public school system as well.
I did. I was a student here I graduated in 1979, a long time ago. Started teaching the next year, so I've taught now 42 years. My first life, I was a public school teacher for 25 years, Mobile County school system, taught middle school, taught high school, and then loved it, just loved doing that. I retired at age 46, which you can do in the state system back then. Stayed retired 9 days, came here full time, and have been here now 16, 17, going on 17 years. And I've taught history the entire time, taught U.S. history, Civil War history, things like that. But that's been my career is teaching. I love doing that.
So what have you seen through all the decades here now? Seasoned, I guess. Is that what we call you?
That sounds bad. Just all the decades.
All the decades and the seasons.
Yeah, when
the
you say
different
that.
students. What have you seen change through the student bodies?
Oh, wow. The biggest change, and I won't make a comment on this either way, but the biggest change is parental involvement. Sometimes good, sometimes it's intriguing. But, I mean, students are students. They make fun of me because I call college students, I call them kids. I'll say something like, the kids did this, My staff will say, Dr. Burnett, they're adults, don't call them kids. I do that though. That's a term of endearment because to me, they're kids. When I say a kid, I want to protect that student. They're like my children, right? That never changes. The students, I don't care, I've taught 6th grade to graduate school. When a student makes that connection and you realize the student's done it, that's a great feeling. I don't care if they're a 6th grader or in graduate school, that's what teachers do. That never changes. The technology, of course, changes. When I started teaching, we did the old mimeograph machines with Spirit. You guys are too young, but the old Spirit duplicator machines, the old chalkboard. We didn't even have computers, no internet back then, no AC in the school. That dates me, obviously, but that kind of stuff changes. I mean, technology changes certainly, but what we did never changes. You're trying to teach and mentor students. I don't care if it's 40 years ago or today, you're making a connection. That's what we do here. Here's the commercial. That's what we do here very well. We reach students where they are one-on-one. I've got a friend in Houston, teaches the same class I teach. His class has 400 students in it, okay? There's no way, he's a great teacher, he will never make connections with those 400 students. I've got 25 or 30, I can talk to these kids. I can mentor students. That's what we do. Kids can walk in this office, and they do anytime, and talk to me. That won't happen in a major, huge place. It just won't happen. That's why I like what we do. That's the joy of teaching. That's the joy of in a Christ-centered school like we are. That's the joy of what we do.
Well, let me ask you, you've been here for a little over a year as president. So what are some of your goals as you look to the future for the University of Mobile?
Good question. And when I do speak in churches, one of the talks I do is that purpose talk. And I start that talk out by saying the number one question I got for the first 6 months and still get it is the one you just asked. What is your vision? What's your goal? I've got the same answer always. I say we should live up to our motto. Okay? What's our motto? Our motto is higher education for a higher purpose. So if we can teach kids, education is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's great. It's my career. It's my life. But C.S. Lewis once said, education without values only makes man a more clever devil. If we can teach kids, your career is no doubt important. It's crucial. But you can be the richest person ever and be like Solomon and say, everything is vain. So if we can teach kids, there's a purpose in life. That's my goal. Let's do that better and better. Keep doing that. Let's do what our motto says we want to do. That's pretty simple, but that's important.
I love that. Okay, so if there's a family out there about to be thinking about college for their kids, or they're wanting to think ahead about that, well, how would you advise the parent with a 13, 14, 15-year-old, and then the ones with a 16, 17-year-old?
I would advise them, save your gas, come here now. Don't worry about going to other places. Come here where I can save you gas money. No, Jennifer, it's a good question. It's a very important choice. I mean, it's a serious choice that parents make. The beauty of our campus is when they come here, we tell folks, if you come on that drive, you've been here, Jennifer, that driveway, you come on this campus, when you see this place, you will fall in love with it. It's a very unique place, but it's a serious decision. It requires prayer, it requires investigation. This has been, by the way, a strange year for recruiting. You know, folks don't realize this, but the fall class we just finished, they were locked up before COVID hit. That hay's in the barn, so to speak. It's next year's class that's the mystery. Because right now, our recruiters can't go in high schools. We're trying to get in, we're being very creative, including an event we did last week, but we're being creative, but it's tough to recruit right now. So for high school students, they've got to reach out more to us than us going to them. That's very unique because normally we reach out to them. There's creative ways we're doing this, but you've got to, if you're a current high school student, current parent, grandparent, it takes investigation. You can call here for a private tour anytime. We're still doing on-campus events, but you can get in a golf cart with one of our counselors and take a tour anytime. which is a great way to see the school. So it kind of requires more reaching out on their part during, especially right now, maybe into the spring. It's recruiting across all colleges, not just us. It's very tricky right now. It's tricky, and presidents are concerned, what will the fall class look like? It's just uncharted waters.
Well, we will have to put a pin in that and see what happens. All right, for more information, umobile.edu. That's umobile.edu. Dr. Burnett, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right, and thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week.